In 1982, Martin Rosen's The Black Dogs run over the screens, here in Germany with the misleading title Dogs on the Loose. And a movie poster similar to a Disney film in order to achieve a quick profit and trick unsuspecting parents to believe it's just a harmless children's movie. And not a deeply disturbing, merciless criticism on animal cruelty and the behavior of man with other living beings in general. About budget and grossing of the PG-13 UK-US production is no data available. These numbers are sometimes concealed when film companies change hands during production. It is one of the few Western animated movies aimed at adults and gets for decades great reviews from audiences and critics. It is based on the same-named fourth novel from 1977 by Richard Adams, who already wrote with his first novel Watership Down from 1972 a bestseller, who was also adapted by Martin Rosen in 1978 into a movie, being the first British animated movie for adults. And like his Art Garfunkel song Bright Eyes, it was an international commercial and critical success. Movie and book are similar, but not identical. In the movie, whose fugitive group consists of only 8 rabbits, several subplots are missing. In the book, there are 17 animals on the run, not including the female Violet, who dies later in the film, as does Black Ava. In the novel, none of the group members introduced in more detail dies. In 1996, Tales from Watership Down by the same author was a much weaker, unnecessary sequel, consisting of 19 short stories, in which, among other things, an attempt was made to introduce a female rabbit leader. A doe rises in the position of co-chief. Hazel lives carefree with many others of its kind in a rabbit hole in the English countryside, until his brother Fiver visions an impending catastrophe and urges him to leave their home as soon as possible. With some more rabbits, they leave against the will of their leader. A little later, the hole is fumigated and destroyed by humans, and almost all remaining rabbits are killed by the toxic smoke. The survivors, young, weak and unexperienced, hike in the hills of Watership Down and begin to dig a new construction. But their enemies are also on their way. The very good movie has, like his novel, a serious tone and scenes describing cruelty and death realistically.
People are in terrible danger.
The General, what do we do?
I would like to make a bargain with you. My life in return for theirs.
In 1999, there was a British-Canadian animated series with 39 20-minute episodes in 3 seasons, which from my point of view has little in common with the original. Unlike the movie, the series begins after Hazel and his friends leave their home lair. It tells a story less dark than book and movie and takes quite a few huge liberties with new plot lines, characters and things, such as magic. Although it starts with elements from the novel, later episodes of the first season, as well as most of the second and third, are almost entirely new content, with a completely different ending. In 2018, another down-woked, puke-boring British-Irish-American 4-hour TV miniseries dared to show up, with horrible CGI and god-awful soundtrack. The longer running time is among other things wasted on made-up flashback background history, as with General Woundwort, and on romances pulled out of a hat. Also, following the unspeakable trend of humanizing the villain, so make him more ordinary, aka boring. Female characters get contradictory to the overall story, the usual upgrade, and also sometimes directly entire storylines, like Clover stolen from Fiverr, which now seem forced and cheap. This also applies to other side characters who are now allowed to shine at the expense of the actual main one, especially Hazel, who now comes across as unnecessarily incompetent, or an overly aggressive and confrontational behavior with simultaneous getting more stupid, as with Bigwig, especially towards Hazel, to generate soap opera drama. Also pulled out of the ass is the nonsense that females are needed for digging the holes, because males supposedly can't do that. And also the Gal Kiha gets a downgrade to annoying smart-ass character, which fits seamlessly into the unsympathetic cardboard cutout parade. And the Black Rabbit, aka Death, at the end in this version has to be a chick, of course. In a research institute in the English Lake District, animals are cruelly abused in the name of science. So also the 2 dogs, Rove and Snitter. Rove has been drowned and resurrected several times. Now he is terrified by water, while Snitter, a small fox terrier, got an experimental brain surgery. Snitter blames himself for an accident in which his master died, and thanks to the brain surgery he lives between dream and reality.
That is where I should be. This is no time for one of your turns.
One day they are able to escape from the institute through the incinerator. They are searching for a place where they can live in peace. Snitter is looking for a new master. Rove believes that all people are cruel. They try to survive in the wilderness, but it's difficult because of their long time imprisonment. And after a reporter wrongly calling them plague dogs, a ruthless chase begins.
Away with you!
The extremely rare and impressive soundtrack by Patrick Gleason spreads a gloomy mood and gives the powerful images of the movie the right atmosphere. To fully enjoy it, people have to rely on assortments from fans that combine the different sources. The first time I saw the Plague Dogs on the big screen with my younger brother wasn't in a cinema, but in a youth center. We and the organizers assumed falsely that it's a children's movie, because the German title and the false advertising suggested that. And since no one but the 2 of us wanted to see the movie on that day, we sat there alone in the dark and got to see our first cruelly disfigured corpse of all movies in an animated one, just before the real change of the projector, which resulted for a bunch of minutes in total darkness, till somebody came and changed the reel. Years later, I was capable to look back at the movie with the right perspective, and I realized that we were among the very few people who ever got to see it uncut. Like the dogs, the movie got in its publication a special loving treatment, when he was mutilated beyond recognition with up to 20 minutes difference from the original cut, with the wrong intentions still trying to make a children's movie out of it. It is indeed an animated film, but is unsuited for children to an even greater extent than Watership Down, because the atmosphere is constantly sad and gloomy. It criticizes, like the novel, the meaning and purpose of animal testing and urges to treat animals with more respect. The differences between movie and book are many and have substantial bearing on their respective outcomes. The most significant one, the survival of the dogs at the end of the film, seems very unlikely. In the book, both got saved by Snitter's owner, who has survived. The Plague Dogs is a brilliant masterpiece and the only animated movie on the sometimes mentioned short best of all times list. Considerably more realistic than Watership Down and without psychic rabbits, he passes his very good predecessor and has rightly a cult status among true cinephiles. It is also, here in Germany, the saddest example of irresponsibility, ignorance and inability of sales and marketing, who do not consider movies as an art form and would even cut off the head of the Mona Lisa, so that she fits better in a box.